that when you're tool step.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see so many people joining us. So yeah, welcome everybody to Agentic Government, hosted during the New York Tech Week. And we're gonna tell you about what government of Alberta is doing in AI space, and also a bit of housekeeping. So chat is disabled. We're gonna have a Q&A function where you can ask all your questions, and we will try to rapidly answer your questions as the presentation goes through. And we'll wrap up by 3 p.m. But yeah. So yeah, we will start. And I want to present Deputy Minister of Technology Innovation, Janak Alford of Government of Alberta.
Thanks. So you didn't introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, who am I? I'm Mykola. Today I'm the host. I also work for Government of Alberta. I work as an AI architect. And we are building the most AI-enabled public service.
That's right.
In North America.
Thanks, Mykola. And thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully you can hear us, and I look forward to the Q&A session. I do have it open on my screen. Throughout the hour, we're going to attempt to answer your questions as you put them in. So if you do have questions, please don't be shy. We'll try to get to everybody. If not, reach out to us. We're going to have our connection details at the end. So as Mykola said, we want Alberta to be the most AI-enabled public service in North America. And for us, that means we have to create the right environment for that. We have to create the right tools, the right processes, the right education and training programs so that we can leverage this tremendous opportunity that we have in front of us and enable our folks. So today you're going to see a little bit about that vision that we're excited to walk you through. We'll talk to you a little bit about our methodology and some of the challenges that are driving Alberta to be a leader in this space. And we have some demos. We're going to walk you through 3 demos as well through quick little videos that we can also share with you after the fact. These are open source tools that we're building and sharing out as along our roadmap towards becoming fully AI enabled. And like I said, I hope that this is an interesting opportunity for you because it certainly is for us. And so on this path towards becoming the most AI-enabled public service in North America, we have to look at tooling. So we are heavily evaluating and exploring all of the new emerging AI technologies that we see today. So generative AI is playing a significant role. We had some pseudo music playing there in the waiting room that you got to hear on loop. But really what it means for us is that government is a process-intensive, large, complex operating environment, and we're really looking at agentic workflows, automation, and those platforms that are going to enable us to modernize and accelerate the way that we deliver our critical government services and processes. And so just like every other private sector business out there, we're keenly interested towards understanding the future of AI for our operations. And I'll say one of the things that I'm hoping sets us apart and that you hear come through this conversation and this presentation is the approach that we're taking in a human-centric way. So you would have heard, and if you're at this Tech Week, you're probably we're listening to the dialogue, participating on LinkedIn and other platforms, having conversations on X, seeing how these technologies are evolving. And you're hearing a lot of dialogues around, oh, we can use this to drive efficiencies. We can, Microsoft's laying off people and so-and-so's laying off people. And there's a lot of thought around, is this being driven by AI? And we're taking the approach that AI is here to enable and uplift people. We want to keep the people we have. We want to give them superpowers with AI. We want to train them to do that. But we know that the shift towards having an AI first, an AI maximalist mindset, that takes time. This isn't new. This isn't native to anyone. This is new to all of us. We're all on this exploratory journey. And so we are creating the environment and we're creating teams where we're bringing cohorts of people through to train them on how to be AI maximalist, or what we call AIM teams. Let's go back one more. And then, oops, one more before that. And then in terms of that transformation, that also means we need to change the nature of work. So rather than looking to just say everything is agentic, everything is AI, we're starting to say, what do you do in the day-to-day? How do you do the work that you do? What are your challenges? And then we're sort of surrounding ourselves with these tools that are fit for purpose, that are allowing us to go significantly faster, not percentages faster, but multipliers faster in many instances. And so we do need a transformation mindset. We do need to pivot the way that we're thinking. And ultimately, we are going to be creating a rich and vibrant ecosystem where AI is coming in to always augment human capabilities, have this human-centric approach. And yes, we seek to deliver our services faster. That's what our citizens require from our government. That's what people expect. They expect real-time services, just like they can get on their phone or through any other platform. We're going to bring them a government that is as nimble and as capable as the services that they expect and receive from their day-to-day life in the private sector. So we'll go on to the next slide. Now, we're not without our challenges. So when you approach a government, you always have decades and decades of historical systems, large corporate systems, enterprise applications and solutions, and sometimes they literally go back longer than almost everyone in our AI team has been alive. So some of the systems are older than most of our people in some of these AI teams, stretching back 40 plus years on mainframes. So government has something that we call technical debt. And that means that the cost to modernize these systems, if we were to add up the cost to modernize the tools that we currently have to a kind of a new standard, that's in the billions of dollars. And if you look across Canada and you look around the world, we're not alone in this. Every government deals with some degree of technical debt, and it chews a lot into our budget. So every year we spend about 80% of our operating budget to mitigate our technical debt, to enhance, to patch, to make sure things are cyber secure and safe. And that really only leaves about 20% of our budget to be modern and new and to drive innovation and change. And so when we're looking at these AI opportunities, we see an opportunity to tackle this technical debt. And because of the number of systems that governments have, we even modeled that if we modernized one app per week, it would still take us 26 years to modernize our entire portfolio. So it gives you a sense of the size of government, but also the complexity. And so when we look at this, we see that there is an imperative to adopt new methods and new tools to absolutely take on these challenges, to address our technical debt, and to be able to deliver solutions not in 5 or 10 years, but in 5 or 10 months, and eventually we'll get to 5 or 10 weeks that we're going to be able to take these things on. And we do see an agentic enabled workforce to be the road towards that. So next slide. So I'll pass it back to Mykola. He's going to walk you through kind of the day in the life of the AIM teams, the AI maximalist teams, and talk about some of the core values. So over to you.
So yeah, thank you, Janak. I'm going to speak about AI Maximalist, which is the initiative that was born in Technology Innovation Ministry right here in Alberta. So the initiative is about how can we maximize the usage of AI? How do we make sure that all of the public servants will use AI in their daily work lives? So our core values were the speed over hesitation. So because a lot of governments adopt this kind of like a rejection of service and the fear and anxiety of the unknown, not only we wanted to adopt AI, we wanted to be the leader in AI. We wanted our people to be empowered by AI, and we wanted them to use it every day for all of their tasks, because it's such a genius it's in everyone's device that nobody uses, but they can become 100x more efficient. And so it was formed early 2025, and it's our AI first delivery pipeline, where we take people from government, we take them for the cohort of 3 or 4 months, and we run them to the program where they will deliver projects and learn by doing. So they will use AI for their projects that they will be given to build AI tools and build our internal AI capacity. Because a lot of governments suffer from the delivery atrophy, as we can see, as they become super reliant on other SaaS software. So why cannot we have our own department of supercharged people who will be able to build AI tools inside in a house, and we can also white label those tools, and we can show them an example that Alberta can lead in AI. And so we managed to get 3 teams: operations, application solutions, and communications. So operations team handle all the planning, forecasting, and everything to do with the operational capacity of our ministry. Communications is everything to do with our public relations, with our media briefings, and making them more AI enhanced. And application solutions, we deliver AI tools and everything that will empower all the processes, all the slow and manual processes to be super fast and supercharged with AI. And together, we form a powerful engine for government transformation. So I will also speak about our solutions that we're building. All of them are open source because we want to embrace transparency, reusability, and innovation. And we want to build out in the open because the things that are built best are built out in the open. We want to make sure that every government can adopt that, because it's not a mission that government of Alberta will do its own thing. We want this to be shared to everybody, so every government can be smarter, faster, and more efficient. And we also are building our own sovereign AI infrastructure, where we will have our own Alberta-hosted large language models that will provide full control over data, where does it go to, and full data residency within our walls, I would say so. And so also what we're building is AI Hub platform, which is a central hub for agents, training resources, and workflows that will be available to everyone who's working in government of Alberta. So they will be able to learn, they will be able to play around with the tools, and they will be able to learn how AI works and try to use it in their daily lives. But also what we want to promote is a knowledge sharing culture. We want to build a culture where it will be more, it will be less bureaucratic and more hands-on, where people will just build. We want people to build, and because the thing is, Alberta is a province of doers, and we want those doers to be here. And so our infrastructure strategy combines technical and cultural elements, because we want our AI innovation to flourish at scale. And so I want to share some of the tools that were built in-house already, that have been enrolled in our government, that we are using and will be using more of them soon. And I want to go for SuperBinder, Logic Studio, and Distill Frame. But I will go with Logic Studio first because SuperBinder is quite lengthy. And for whatever we couldn't do today, we'll have YouTube links shared during this meeting and after this meeting, so everybody can take a look after. And I want to start with showing the video how Logic Studio works. And I will slowly transition in a very careful way to Logic Studio.
Let's have a look at Logic Studio AI. This is one of the first open source tools that we built for AI usage, and it's probably the first one that Alberta actually released fully open source. So we're really happy with this one. We get a lot of usage out of it ourselves. It's a pretty cool tool. You can build visual agent workflows on a canvas, and you can download them, you can share them. It's all local on your browser, so there's no server side where you're deploying these like an N8N yet, but we can create visual workflows. We have multiple agents working together. You can audit and measure your decision paths. You can look at integration. There's API integration and a number of other really cool real-time features. And of course, it's fully open source from the government of Alberta. Let's dive in and play with it. So the concept is, like many of the other agentic workflow tools, you can drag and drop these cards onto a canvas. You can move them around, and you can give them system prompt, user prompt. You can pick the model type that you want. All of these model types are supported. And you can connect them together. So if I have an agent that's going to generate something, I can create an output and download that as a file, for example. So once the agent does something, I can download that as a markdown file. So you can really easily just build these connections. You can delete them. You can add cards. You can delete those cards as well. And there's a variety of cards here. The idea is that it doesn't do everything, but it probably covers off a number of different workflows. And really getting started, it's a tremendously useful tool to learn how to build agentic workflows and to refine your agents before you go off and build them into a production application, for example. Packaged with it, we built some really simple templates. So you can actually just add this one, which I really like, which is this Canadian news aggregator. I'm just going to delete that one. And the idea is you can have it, I had one agent come here and define the top 20 news sites around the world. And then I further refined it to be in Canada. And if you click load websites, it scrapes every single website that you see here. So you can see it just scraped those top 9 websites. And then it will go through and it will analyze that information, and it will run it through a set of agents that will break down the news headlines, group them thematically, and even write them into a detailed analysis. And all we have to do is we just hit the trigger. So step number 1 is it's going to do the web scraping and do all of that analysis. Step number 2, it goes to this agent we call News Beast, which reads and summarizes the headlines from a Canadian context. So we might want to know everything going on in Canada today. So this is June the 5th. So these are the headlines from these different news sites happening today. So News Beast is going to go and read and parse and extract everything that relates to Canada. We can monitor that while it works. We can actually see the different news headlines that it's parsing out. So these are the news headlines from today from each of these different news sites, both in English and French in our case. And then it goes on to, once that's done, it's going to go on to the news reporter, and then finally it'll do the entity extraction. So it'll actually parse out every single character that it found in this text. So it's going to do the news reporter right now. You see the little yellow dot means that this agent is running. And then finally it's going to go on and it's going to do the entity extraction last. So it's going to execute and parse out every single person that it found. So here it's doing that analysis. It's joining it all together, and then in the end it gives us this lovely PDF. So let me open this PDF. And here is the news information right live to the moment that I'm doing this. So these are all of the headlines that are happening in the world based on these news sites. Domestic policy, immigration, finance, economics, climate change, social issues, labor relations, sports, and then even by province, breaking it down by province, by area, etc. And then finally at the bottom, we can scroll all the way to the bottom and we can see all of the different entities that it extracted out. So these are all of the different people that made headlines this morning. So if you had a watch set up that anytime you wanted to see something about Jim Balsillie, for example, you could actually then push to an API and get notified on your phone to say, oh, there's a headline about Jim Balsillie. And so that's just one of, that's a bit of a fun use case. And there's sort of an unlimited number of different agentic workflows that you can build here. We also have another fun one that we can add, which is this hot topics generator. So it will actually just read the news website, CBC News. It's going to develop a 5-part business idea, a book idea, if you will, from news headlines. It's going to pick one headline. It's going to say the psychology of secondhand shopping. So that's the story headline that it's gone with. It's going to write each of those different 5 parts of a theoretical book. So imagine you were doing book research and you wanted to write part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. So these agents are each expanding out every concept that it's finding in the story idea. And then the last 2 steps is first it writes a letter to your agent. So it says, hey, agent, I had a great idea for a book based on some current news headlines. So it'll write that letter, and then I'll even write some sample pages to get you started in your book writing. And it will put all those together so you can download it and do your own analysis. So it's nearly done that work right there. We'll come to the other side here as it's going through. And then when it's done, it's going to join all that together. It's going to write the letter to the editor, and it's going to download those sample pages. So we'll give it a second to finish. When you're on your canvas, by the way, you can upload and download these canvases, so you can save them locally, back them up, because this is your intellectual property. We don't need to retain it. And of course, the app's fully open source. You can just run it locally on your own PC. It's just a simple JavaScript-based application, so you can launch it and use it locally. So let's see about the story about secondhand shopping. So let's open the first document here. So let's have a look at the first document here. The first document is indeed the letter to John Smith, your hypothetical book editor. It talks about why this book is important and how it's relevant today, so that's kind of cool. Do number 2, where it's going to talk about the actual book structure. So here is the name of the book, The Evolution of Thrift Culture from the 1940s to the 1990s, some historical development, modern transformation, market size, cultural acceptance, consumer demographics, economic factors, market forces, technology integration, etc. So it has a whole breakdown of all of the different areas of research that you might do. And then let's look at some of the sample pages that it even wrote for us. So let's look at part 3, which is these pages. So it talks about this character Sarah standing in her garage surrounded by towers of storage bins, and her process of going through and becoming a thrift shopper. So those are just a couple of little samples to inspire you and get you going. So that's a whole workflow. You can run this as many times as you want, and you can have it set up to run once daily, and you can get your inspiration out of there. And I even have one for weather forecast. So here we actually do an API call. So we go to this site, which is called Pirate Weather. It pulls the weather forecast for Edmonton. It does an analysis on how much energy we're likely to use, and it even gives you a heat loss calculation by day around how much heat you're likely to spend. Actually, by hour, it breaks it down the number of BTUs you're likely to expend and how much money that's going to cost you. So you can actually use the weather forecast to forecast your energy usage bill for heating and cooling. And that's just another simple example with some API integration. So play around with Logic Studio. It has a tremendous ability to add as many cards as you want, integrate with as many different agents as you want, and right out of the box, you can build some pretty dynamic, pretty sophisticated workflows to operate your business or even to use in your personal life.
And now we will go to the Distill Frame. We're going to show that one. So yeah, as a reminder for everybody, we have a Q&A section in Microsoft Teams that any of you are welcome to ask the questions as they go. And if you have more questions regarding the tools, please feel free to go and Q&A and ask us some questions.
And just to the question that was asked, yes, we will share the videos, the links to the videos. They're all on YouTube. You can find them on the, as you see them right there. You can find these videos. They're posted up live this morning for all of you.
Okay, so we'll get back to it.
So the next tool we have for you is Distill Frame, and this is one more open source tool built by the government of Alberta to help us undertake a wide range of analysis on any sort of media, including image, importantly video, and also audio. Now this is a great tool because often when we're doing business requirements gathering, we can take a long video stream, whether it be a video call or a screen capture of an end user's product, and we can walk through, listen to their voice, and then capture key elements of their screen. So to start off, we're going to come in and look at the kinds of analysis that we want to do. And I'm going to do one that's kind of fun. I'm going to do a film analysis. So we can pick categories of agents, and we are going to deploy multiple agents at the exact same time to analyze every frame of a video. And we can come in, we can pick our media, whether it be image, audio, or video. And I'm going to pick a video. And I thought it would be fun to pick a clip out of the trailer for Taxi Driver. And so here we can scrub back and forth through the video. Now this media is kept on your own device in the browser. It doesn't need to be uploaded, but we're going to create some snippets. And I have 4 agents here. One is a director of photography agent. one is a lighting analysis agent, and one is a wardrobe designer agent. And I can select those agents, and every single frame that I extract, I can clip out that frame, and it's going to do the analysis on all three. All three agents are going to do the analysis at the same time, and we can see these captured frames below. So let me just go through and capture some content here. We'll get something with some different characters, extract that, extract here, here, and here. So we've grabbed some frames out of here, and now every agent, every time I click extract, every agent is analyzing that frame. So if I click on this frame, we have the agent output. Now this is the raw output, so you can see that this is the viewpoint from the director of photography. So there's a deep analysis on lighting setup, techniques, mood, tone, color palette. Down below we've got a detailed specific lighting analysis utilizing a 3-point lighting scheme, etc. And then down below we actually have the raw output for the costume design. So we can have describing the jacket, the trousers, the shirts, and the cotton blend and crisp. So it has a clear description of all those, and you can build as many analysis agents as you want to analyze every single frame. And then you can go through, and as you click on each frame, you can see that there's a deep analysis on every single frame here completed. And then we can scroll down to the bottom, and we can tie all of those together through a simple analysis. So I'm going to pick our screenwriter. I'm actually going to have a screenwriter agent tie everything together, and it will write a full analysis based on all of those frames. It will integrate them into a detailed analysis on the cinematography that is used here, the design. So here it says we've got several key frames from Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. They have these quiet moments of introspection. They talk about the character dynamics, the dialogue and subtext. They talk about world building, action, blocking, tone, thematic elements. They have stylistic influences as well. So they talk about what might have been Scorsese's influences on the film noir genre. And so we can do as many analyses as we like using different agents. We can also do an advanced analysis. And so let's have a look at that. Here we can write our own prompt. So write a detailed analysis of the wardrobe styles used in these frames. And here in advanced analysis, I can either pick a frame, which will bring in all of the agents that have analyzed that frame, or I can even just pick in an agent, and that will bring all of the frames. And so I can really quickly analyze this information, and I can run an advanced analysis, and what's going to create is just a very detailed view into the wardrobe design. And so when we read that analysis, we have a full breakdown of all of the costumes here. We have detailed observations, historical context from the 1970s. We've got a comparative breakdown, the symbolic interpretations, etc. So there's a detailed analysis there just on the wardrobe piece as well. So what's cool about this is, I've used this example from Taxi Driver, but we can bring in videos that are business oriented. We can have somebody walk through an hour of an existing legacy application. We can make those screenshots at every single key moment. We actually have the transcription there for every part of it. So as people are talking, you can see the transcription is changing down below. And then all of that can be tied together into the analysis. And so imagine we could build a database model, we could build a user interface, we could build a detailed specification, all from video, and then take away everything that we need in the analysis. So let's start off with a new session. This time we're going to bring in our web analysis tool. We're going to add those agents in there, and we might also make a new agent here. I'm going to call this one Structured Data Analysis, and I'm going to give it a system prompt. I'm going to say return your results in JSON of all the structured data fields you see, and I'm going to say find and analyze every form or web field you would see and create a structured data object for each element that is an intake field. So we'll do that. So we'll save that agent. So I built a custom agent. So let's have a look at the New York Tech Week website. So we've got the video. I can scrub back and forth through this video here, and I can turn on my UI descriptor agent, my style descriptor, my purpose analysis, and my structured data analysis. So let me turn on all those, and I'm just going to start creating snippets. So let's take the front page. Let's scroll down to the featured events, extract that. Let's have a look at the calendar, extract that. We'll see some of the events here. We'll look at the submission form. So let's capture the whole submission form. And let's go over here and capture just the rest of the website, extract that frame. And I think that's it. We got the footer at the bottom. So we've extracted out these frames from the web content. Each of them has an analysis based on those 4 agents. So they actually have 4 analysis sections here. And let's see what we're able to create through our business analysis agent down below. So if I pick the business analyst and I generate a business analysis, it's going to read all of those frames. It's going to read the full analysis done for each one of those frames for each of the agents, and it's going to provide this kind of overarching business analysis. So here it is. So this document outlines the specifications for the website based on the screenshots provided. Talk about the objectives of the website, the layout specifications, the home page, event calendar, city-specific pages, registration, etc. It talks about the header, the footer, the buttons, the forms, the feature specifications, and the typography, user data, non-functional requirements, assumptions, constraints, stakeholder considerations, and down below has some strengths and weaknesses. So it's done a full analysis just on the video that we did off of the Tech Week website. And finally, let's go in and let's make our own analysis. Provide a comprehensive spec from all structured data fields. So let's fix that. Let's just pick the structured data analysis, and we will run an advanced analysis here, and we'll see all of the structured fields that were able to be collected off of the video as I was parsing through it. And so here are all of the different data elements. So what do we have here? We have inputs, we've got the forms, text, the event title. So it has all of everything we asked for: the event element type, the name, the label, the type, the required. It's gone through and parsed everything, contact element, etc. And what's cool about it is we can actually take this now. We can just hit download on this analysis. So let's go into something like Grok and say, build me a SQL Server table to house all this form data. And now we can just, from browsing the website, we can immediately start to build out a table definition and specification. It's going to capture and store all of the information that we're collecting there based on the field types. It's going to pick the correct data types, and it's actually going to build out the table that we had here. So this is just everything capturing from the intake form. And there we go. We can build a table, and we can put some indexes on it, and we can pick the right data types and things like that. So that's how you go straight from a video right into a productive workflow where you're building out the database object, for example. You're storing the data, and you just did that literally from a few frames of the video, just watching it through. So that's a quick example of using Distill Frame for business analysis. There are an unlimited number of use cases here for Distill Frame. We would love to hear from you. The code is open source. Check it out in the link provided, and we'll go on to the next demo.
Hey, are we gonna go for the last video for today?
And I swear it's the shortest video.
This is the shortest video. It's
Yeah.
about I Just Cant.
Yeah, sometimes I just can't.
Sometimes all of us just can't. So yeah, we'll run it right away. And reminder, Q&A still works.
Now, everyone who's ever run a project knows how tough it is to build a project plan, put in all the dependencies, map the timelines, And sometimes you just need to work out something quickly as a rough idea. Sitting down with a client, a tool like Justgant can help you develop a project plan on the spot using AI. So let's check it out. So just go to ijustgant.com and make yourself a new project, so a blank project to get started, and say, I want to build a project plan to build an app. I want a project plan to build an AI-enabled app for viewing historical images and creating searchable metadata, right? So maybe that's my app idea. I just hit enter, and in a few seconds here, it's going to generate a project plan to do exactly that. And what's cool about Justgant is you can collaborate with other people in real time, so you can all move the different activities and dependencies over here. So let me expand the screen. And here's our project plan. So it's put a budget, it's created some outcomes. It's called AI-enabled historical image app is our project. We've got project initiation, data acquisition, AI model selection, front-end development, back-end development, model integration, testing, QA development, user training, and project closure. So it's a pretty standard project plan. And you see it's also drawn the dependencies here. So when your dependencies make sense, they show up normally. If they overlap so that there's a conflict between your dependencies, it flags it. You can see the list of these dependencies. So you have all of the different steps. You've got the finish to start. You can modify any of those dependencies. You can add new dependencies, or if your dates are messed up, you can fix dates, so it'll actually fix and adjust your project plan automatically. And what's cool about it is you can actually download this project plan and turn this into a proposal right away. So let's go into a tool like Gamma and just paste in the project plan that we just created, the JSON that was just downloaded. We can make a quick presentation to explain this off to our client, and we'll do it in 8 cards. And let's see what we can create here. Let's pick a funky design, and we'll see what we can create out of the project plan that we just generated out of Justgant. So there we have it. Let's check out our project plan. So this is the AI-enabled historical image app. It's all just driven by Justgant, the project plan that we just created. There's a timeline that we had specified. There's the processes that we talked about, the model development, the app development, testing and deployment, and the project team, and our expected outcomes. So we want a 100% user-friendly, 24/7 accessible, searching thousands of images with AI-generated metadata, and you can even see a bit of a layout there. So imagine sitting with a client, they ask you to build an app. You not only can build a project plan and the timeline, but then you can put it into something like Gamma and immediately have a proposal for them that is broken down. You can also jump into a tool like Grok and say, write me a proposal based on this Gantt. So here we have the proposal there. We can walk our client through it. There's the executive summary, the project objectives, the scope, the methodology. There's the timeline that we had right from our project planning tool. There's the dependencies, there's the budget, the team composition, and the conclusion. So we've got a nice, crisp 5-page project proposal. We're ready to rock and roll. The next thing I would do is I would take all of these artifacts, I would go straight to a tool like Manus or Firebase Studio, and I'd actually begin prototyping this app right from all of these artifacts. And probably in a few more minutes, you would have a prototype that you're ready to sit down, explore with your client, and start to load content in. Add an API key, get a tool like Gemini, processing all of your historical images, make some agents, give them some instructions on how to parse the metadata, and suddenly you've got a one-stop historical image app. So dive into Justgant, add it to your toolkit, integrate it into your workflow, and you'll have project plans in your hands in just seconds.
Okay, and we'll go to our last topic of today, which is AI factories. So let me quickly share my screen again. And Janak is going to tell us more about AI factories that we are doing here in Alberta.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us as we went through the video. I did share the links up. A couple people asked in the Q&A, so the links are there for YouTube. You can go and check those out. And as we mentioned, go check out the code. There's sample websites live on the links that were provided, and the code's all available for you in GitHub. So please go and pioneer, go and build, as Mykola says. And when we look ahead now, you've seen a few of the tools that we just demoed. There's many more that we're continuing to innovate and pioneer. And what we're seeing now is, on their own, each tool is a helpful device, whether you're building a project plan or whether you're capturing business requirements or building an agentic workflow. If we were to look ahead and to see where all of this naturally leads us on the growth pattern that it is on, we see that we could start to integrate these things, not as separate tools or SaaS products or websites, but really integrate it into a workflow that would fundamentally change the way that we deliver our services and solutions in government. And so when you think about how a person goes and builds a system, you have a bunch of client requirements and specifications. You do an expensive and extensive amount of mapping of business need, looking at your tech stack, looking at your standards, looking at your costs. And usually you write those things for people. You would write it into a PowerPoint or a Word presentation or a Microsoft project plan. We're starting to pivot that and think about, well, how would we explain all of this to an agentic workflow? And so the first step that we're looking at in this concept of AI factory is that we can create pipelines of agentic workflows that will build self-evolving software and self-healing software, meaning that as we go forward in the future, instead of having these large enterprise systems that you put out a release every 6 months or 12 months, you could actually have agentically built systems that are also maintained by a team of agents. But to do that, they need to know what you want. And one of the big gaps when we're looking at large language models and when people are saying that the model is hallucinating or providing inconsistent or insufficient, complexity or detail, is around, have we really explained what we need? And so if you go on and vibe code and you don't explain your cybersecurity standards and your information retention standards and your user security and identity access management and logging, if you haven't defined any of those things, then of course AI will not meet those requirements. It can't read your mind, it can't guess, and it will do what it thinks is either convenient or easy based on its own prompt. But if you go with layer one of the factory, which is the blueprints, those could be your client specifications, your enterprise architecture standards, your database schemas, your coding standards, your GitHub, everything that you have. If you load it all in a machine readable way, when you task the agent or the agentic workflow to go on and take on a challenge, it then can take that information as its starting point, and then it can self-evaluate and self-refine based on that. So not only does it produce a module, it then assesses the module against all of your standards and then goes into a virtuous feedback and enhancement loop. The second layer gets into the agentic delivery engine here. And this is where we bring humans and AI together in their own swim lanes, but passing tasks back and forth. So in the future, we would expect that as large language models get more sophisticated and more capable, you would expect that they could take on more and more coding tasks because that's a primary use case. However, the work of the dev, the work of the coder, the work of the solution architect and the business analyst and all of those other roles, it changes, but that person doesn't go away. Instead, you engage in this dialogue back and forth with these agents where you can generate, you can test, you can optimize, you can integrate, you can take user feedback, you can enhance. And so that is absolutely this dialogue we want humans to have with AI. And don't forget, our fundamental premise here is that we are giving people superpowers. We're not replacing people, we're looking to give them new tools. And yeah, I assume Superman probably doesn't take the bus when he's late for his appointment. He probably just flies there. So we want people to be able to fly there. So, so think from that perspective. And then in the third area, then we talk about the integration piece. One of the big challenges that we have in government when we're modernizing a system, and often it takes us either months or years, is to map out all of the existing requirements, map out the schemas, the tables, the integration points, the APIs. We hope that they're modern REST APIs. They might be SOAP APIs. They might be mainframe. I don't even know if it has APIs, but let's pretend it does. That you want to do those integrations. Well, that's where AI is going to help us on layer 3. So this integration, no app or nearly no app today in an enterprise environment can afford to live in isolation. Yes, you can do little simple apps like the ones that we just showed you, but if you're going to have meaningful apps, they're going to need to be deeply integrated in to your data systems and your information management systems, into your logging and into your cybersecurity. And so that's the third major domain that we see agentic, in the agentic factory model. So next slide. I'm going to replace you with an AI, Mykola, just like that, just like that. I mean, I'm going to augment you with an AI. There we go. So when we look ahead in terms of how we want to go in the future, there's some ideas here. We haven't defined that these are necessarily 100% of the KPIs, and there's still room for evolution. But for example, in the future, rather than every 10 years doing a major uplift of 50% business requirements change, imagine with AI Factory, we can just put out 5% changes per year, and that your application, in fact, never becomes legacy. It never becomes technical debt because it's agile, it's incrementally updating. And that could be daily, that could be hourly, that could be whenever there's a cyber flash or a CVE identified, that the application can automatically create a rebuild of itself, put itself into a QA environment, be ready for user testing or unit testing. So in terms of our spend, this is quite aspirational, but if we're looking at some of those multipliers, we're looking at how do we go from that 400 million a year that we spend in maintenance, how do we reduce that significantly? And so this is these are aspirational numbers, but it's going to be important. In terms of code quality, I would say that we have more than 100 or probably more than 150 teams doing all sorts of delivery within this department, and largely they're doing great work, but they're working in different tech stacks, and the meeting of all of our standards. Very few of our apps meet 100% of our standards all the time. Most are quite good. The majority are quite excellent, but we want to make sure that everything is fully accessible. Everything is meeting user needs. Everything is aligning to our cybersecurity needs. And so with an agentic workflow in partnership with us, every piece of code that we create and design, well, we can enhance that to make sure that we're hitting a high threshold, and that is highly repeatable. In terms of speed, again, we're seeing some tremendous boosts in terms of the ability to create modular components. Right now, the factory concept is really well suited for small modular standalone components like building an API, building some front-end components, building a database schema, doing data loading scripts, ETL processes. In the future, we see as these models increase in their speed, in their context window, the amount of data that they can process, and importantly, as we give them all of our specifications, we think that we're going to be able to increase the speed of our development teams by enabling them to leverage these tools while reducing the amount of bugs that we have in our system or responding to some of those cybersecurity events. Next slide. And so we are on a roadmap here from implementation now through these AIM teams. We're going to be establishing this factory model. We're in the midst of deploying the core infrastructure, and we are testing this through a lot of some sort of manual integrations. We start in, we can start with a large language model. We can go into Manus. We can go into Firebase. We can iterate. We can take it to Claude. Well, this is how we're learning what the tools are good at. In the future, we're going to focus on those integrations. So people talk about API, they talk agent to agent, they talk MCP servers, they talk about those kind of integration components. We're laying down the infrastructure now. We hope to be able to scale up the factory within a year. So by next year, we're taking on 20% of our maintenance and 50% of our new builds for small to medium-sized applications. We're able to run concurrent projects through, and we're able to enable, and again, this retraining, this enablement of the workforce is what we see along the path. A lot of that work we hope to even start to happen sooner. And then, we like to set ourselves a moonshot in terms of the future. I don't know if we'll be able to get to the 80%, but we're going to aim for it. And we believe that in terms of our monitoring, in terms of our bug identification, cybersecurity, that there's a role for these agentic processes to enable every single team that we have in the GOA. So there's not going to just be one factory. If you are developing business intelligence tools, if you're developing process automation, if you're developing cybersecurity solutions, you're all going to have these tools that we're going to be able to create and enable you with from there. So that's kind of the vision around the AI factory. And I think that was the last slide.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll pass this one back to Mykola. He can give you the call to action to help us become the most AI enabled.
So for all the people present on the call, we'll give you several links. We'll give you links to GitHub, so you can test out all the solutions that you saw today. We'll give you the link to our LinkedIn, so you can follow us, connect with us, talk to us, and see what are we doing, because we are pretty frequent with LinkedIn. We make posts pretty frequently, and we have a page for Alberta Technology and Innovation that you can follow and join and see the news. And you'll also see that we presented at this page as well. And our call to action is join, pilot, share, and lead. So we're always looking for talent. We're always looking for smart minds. We're always looking for bright ideas, collaboration, partnerships, opportunities, anything that you see that might be relevant for us. We're open to business. Alberta is open to business. And we want you in your organizations to use those open source tools to lead and drive innovation in your areas. And I'll finish this with the slide just to remind everyone our names. So I'm Mykola Holovetskyi, and this is Janak Alford. And we're going to wrap this up. And follow us on LinkedIn. We're going to post it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This has been awesome. Hopefully, we'll get to see each other in person. Maybe we will come to Alberta. We'll be making some very cool events. And yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Keep on building.
Keep on building.